I'm nearly at the end, but I'd just like to wrap up with 2 comments about social media and about content marketing. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is that you get an awful lot of companies who have got a vested interest in promoting social media as the be-all and end-all of your marketing strategy. And I'd like you to think of it as a tool. It's an essential tool, but it's just one tool amongst many. But like it or not, it is an integral part of how we all communicate these days, and it needs to be included as part of your marketing mix. But you need to do this intelligently. You need to think what it can be used for, because it's not a magic bullet. And if you invest too much in the wrong areas, it can actually be detrimental to your business. If you spam your Twitter feed with lots of just promotional stuff that doesn't engage and doesn't get people involved, they're just going to switch off. Worse than that, they're going to have a bad general feeling about your business and are likely to share that with their fellow social media users. So you need to be aware of its limitations as well as the benefits. It can be hugely helpful, and it can prop up a critical marketing campaign. Depending on what channel you're using or what social media network you're using, it may or may not drive revenue directly. Probably not, but it has strengths in other areas. I don't actually know anybody that's had a direct sale as a result of Twitter, but there were businesses, very successful businesses, that managed to build up in the early days of Facebook purely on the basis of a Facebook page. Facebook then, last year, changed their algorithms so that those company pages just disappeared from people's news feeds unless they started paying to promote and boost the posts, or unless they had incredibly compelling shareable content. So, absolute nightmare for those businesses that had built their entire strategy around Facebook. But Facebook is probably still part of those businesses that have survived. It's still got to be part of their strategy. They just need to start thinking about how they're going to use it, how they're going to allocate resources, how they're going to budget for it. And depending on your demographics, and this comes back to understanding your customer as well, keep an eye out on emerging social networks, because it's a shifting marketplace. It comes and goes. Different social networks are popular at different times and are used by different demographics. If you're trying to reach 20-somethings, especially like hip, young, creative 20-somethings, chances of you cutting through and reaching those people on Facebook and Twitter, probably not that great. But Tumblr might be an ideal vehicle for you. Or Vine for short, shareable videos. Or LinkedIn if you're in the business-to-business environment. So have a think about your customer, where they are, where they spend their time, what they want and what they're trying to achieve, and then you can choose the right marketing channel to reach those people. And I'd also like to mention content, because content marketing is something that you hear constantly, and this has become crucial to all digital marketing strategies, largely because of the way social media has evolved, but also because of the way that Google has changed its algorithms to focus search results on quality and depth of content rather than just individual keywords. So the whole search engine optimization industry is probably heading towards obsolescence. There were lots of people and companies out there that specialize in getting sort of keyword searches to the top of Google pages. Google doesn't look at websites like that anymore. It looks at content and it looks at depth of content. So if you want your web page to be visible, you need to be thinking about providing lots of good stuff that people want to read. You need to be thinking about providing good quality videos. Google owns YouTube, so it ranks hits from YouTube disproportionately high. So you need to think about video. You need to think about social shares on Facebook and Twitter, because Google ranks them highly as well. And so you need to be constantly thinking about generating good quality content that people are going to want to read, going to want to view, going to want to share. It can be incredibly cheap to do this, especially if you're a relatively local business or you've got a very personable face to the business, a very charismatic person, or somebody that just really loves being on social media, sharing stuff. But it can also be horrendously expensive and time consuming. If you factor in the cost of producing all of this stuff that you're giving away for free, well, the time cost alone can be something that's really quite daunting. And you need to plan that from the outset, and you need to make sure that's included in your marketing budgets, because otherwise you're going to face a rude shock. And your content has to be good, and it has to be evolving, and it's harder and harder to cut through. So just to recap, final words: put the customer at the center of everything you do. And think of marketing across the whole organization. It's not an individual department that's creating nice flyers or a fancy website. To me, it should be a philosophy that stretches across all areas of your business and is embedded within the business, so that you're giving that consistent communication across all of your channels. Telling that compelling story, meeting people's needs. And the strategy part of this comes in planning, allocating your resources effectively, measuring and adapting. And if you do all of this right, you can make your message work. And I'd just like to say thanks very much for coming. I hope you found this useful. If you send me an email or leave your details, I'll give you a copy of the slides. I've also got the matrix that I showed you earlier with the customer journey. Be happy to share that with you. And also a report on the strengths and weaknesses of individual digital marketing channels, from email to social media to web and paid search. And I'll get that out to you next week. Notice this is all sort of content marketing. I've also got my friends at the back there who've been videoing this. So have a think about, if you're doing any activity that's promoting your business, also have a think about how you can also use that activity to help promote your business in other channels. And if you do this right, your customers will come. You won't face those challenges at the beginning. You'll be a more profitable, more successful business. Thanks very much.